Well, he called himself obese, and he made it an incredible decision. My guest today lost 100 pounds. And now, guess what? He competes in bodybuilding. But that's only part of his story. This man is so successful in so many ways, and he's got lots of lessons learned, plus a ton of books. This one we're going to talk about, and the other one too, so stay tuned.
Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolosky, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
Okay, Yuri, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Valerie. Thanks for having me here today.
This is just going to be such an incredible interview. As you know, I learned a whole lot about you, talking to you before the show, but also researching, which I always do. And I don't know where to start except from that. How in the world and why? What was the impetus for you to lose that weight? And I also want you to tell me how it even came on.
That's a great question because the motivation was, there was multiple signs that I was not doing well from the health standpoint. Mm-hmm. I was so obese that I was having to do some treatments on my knees because it was locking, and I was getting injections on my knees to get a better fluid, and I was developing early arthritis. That was back in 2010, and the doctor told me, look, we can keep doing those injections, but this is not the solution. You got to lose weight. You are extremely obese. So we did all the checkups, and my cholesterol was horrible. And it's interesting that none of that really drove me to the change. What really changed and made me switch completely was back in 2011, my youngest daughter, she was born in 2008. And she was a little one running around, and I was trying to catch up with her, play with her, and I just couldn't. I felt tired. If we were on the floor, for me to just get up, it was like a tremendous effort. It was like, I cannot, be an example for her if I cannot be active, basically, right? So that was the click that I said, I need to change, and I need to change now. And that's when I reached out to Greg McCoy, and we met in a bodybuilding show. And it was super interesting because Greg has a big responsibility on this change. Because when I came to him and said, look, I want to compete in bodybuilding. Now, you can imagine I'm on this place where everyone is in great shape and I'm super fat. And I say this to him, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So immediately, he didn't look at me differently, or he didn't hesitate to say, let's do it. He immediately say, let's do it.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
My goodness.
And it was such encouragement to me at that point because I'm like, wow, he actually believe I can do it. So I got to believe myself in do it, right?
That's what I was also going to ask you. Did you really think you could do this? I mean, how long did you have this weight on?
I started gaining weight when I moved to US in 2003.
Okay.
I moved from Brazil to US in 2003, and I was very focused on my career at Microsoft. I wanted to succeed. I wanted to grow, get promotions, and do things that I always wanted to do because it was a dream to move to US and to work at Microsoft.
And you're in cybersecurity.
Yes. And I just started working really hard and really have this tunnel vision, which is a horrible thing to do. When you are in this tunnel vision mode and you think that you gotta drop everything else to achieve that goal, there is a lot of side effects throughout the way, right? Because you stop taking care of your health, you stop taking care of your family, and you just go for that goal.
Do you think people fell into that and gained weight during the pandemic?
I totally think so. I totally think that there are 2 side effects of the pandemic is the isolation, the lack of social interaction drove people to create bad habits. Although some people move in a whole different direction. They start to reflect about, okay, now I have more control about my food. I can cook. I don't need to eat out. Because my problem was I was working the second shift. in the Las Colinas office. And every time that I left the office, it was around 11 p.m. So what could I find to eat? Only fast food.
Fast food.
So fast food every day.
Yeah. All right. I want to know the journey. We want to know how you did this. So you met Greg, who has a health studios, bodybuilding. He trains Olympic champions. We've had him on the show.
Mm-hmm.
How did you even know to get to him?
A common friend of mine that was working at Microsoft at that time met him and was training with him and said, hey, I can introduce you to this guy that I think he will make a big difference.
And he never questioned you?
Never.
When you came up?
The only thing that he asked me was, do you want to do this fast or do you want this in the long term? And I said, let's do a plan for every quarter. For example, this quarter, I want to lose 30 pounds. And let's continue to refresh this plan every quarter. Mm-hmm. So I was very disciplined since the beginning because I knew that the only way to achieve it was through discipline. So he gave me a meal plan that I was following to the dot. I mean, I ate the same thing for 1 year. I was going to birthday parties with my Tupperware. So I was really legitimately focusing on losing that weight.
That had to be inspirational to, I would think, the people at the birthday party when they saw that commitment. Or they call me crazy. Or crazy.
Yeah. So what is that, Yuri? Say, yeah, it's my diet.
Well, it takes discipline. That's one of your teachable points of view you gave me. You said discipline beats motivation.
Yeah. And I think Greg covered this when he was talking about you, because motivation can come and go, right? Mm-hmm. Not every day you're gonna be motivated. Some days,
no kidding.
Some days you're gonna wake up and like, oh, I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So what gonna drives the result is discipline. That you know that you have to do it to stay consistent over time. Because it doesn't matter if you do one thing just 1 day, 2 days. If you don't keep consistency over time, you're not going to really achieve something. And the only way to achieve something is to keep that discipline of executing the same thing over and over. A lot of people, they don't like routine, but routine is important, very important.
That's discipline too.
Yeah.
So one of the things I learned about how we can be motivated is first just looking at our thoughts. Because what I learned from a woman named Sherry Yellen is that what we think determines our behaviors, and our behaviors determine our actions, and our actions determine results. So that's why I ask you up front, Yuri, how did you first have that little fire inside of you? Mm-hmm. You had to have something in that thought, the spark in your daughter, which means a lot. Now tell us, I know people are wanting to know, and I do too. All right, so you're working out. Really and truly, what was it like? That's a lot of weight. How long did it take you?
Oh, it was extremely hard the first 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about, I was very used to eat fast food. And probably, I cannot even measure how much of calories I was eating a day, but probably around 5,000, 6,000, right? In fast food and things like that. And we dropped my calorie intake for 1,800 calories a day. So it was huge.
Just like that?
Yeah, boom.
Like all
just
of
like
a sudden?
That. Yes.
That's okay?
I had to do this. I didn't want to go gradual. We want to eat clean, and we did that. But the first 3 weeks, it was hard. The first 2 days, I was shaking. It was almost like the drug addict that was getting out of drugs. Uh-huh. Same feeling, because I was shaking, I was crying. And my wife, I remember, said, no, you're done with this. Not going to do this anymore. I said, no, I'm going to do it. I was expecting this problem in the beginning, but I'm going to stick with the plan. And I did. Because I knew it was part of the process of getting through that plateau and then start really feeling well. And so it took me a while to feel well. But after the first month, I was enjoying, I was having fun. And
fun? You're going to say that?
Yeah. I think when you start to look to the scale and you start to see the results like immediately, because in the first 3 months I lost 30 pounds, I was like, this is great. It works.
Yeah.
Right? So you feel extremely motivated to continue to push yourself and keep doing it. So the first 100 pounds of fat went out on the first year. So the first year we were like 100 pounds. And then we established a plan to compete, because now I lost 100 pounds, but I didn't have too much muscle. So I need to build muscle, right? So it took me 2.5 years to really get ready for the first show. And the interesting part of the show was I had a goal to compete, right? I had a goal to be on stage and compete. I went to Pflugerville for this show in 2014, and I got last place. Last. I was so happy because my goal was not to win. Remember, it's about having the right goal, attainable goal. My goal was to participate. So I was not upset. I accomplished that goal. But as soon as I stepped out of the stage, I said, I want to come back and be on top 3. So in 2015, I came back and I got second place. And I was like, that's great feeling. Now I want to win. 2016, I came back and I won.
Oh, my goodness. So, audience, I wish you could see Yuri because, I mean, he is a firm bodybuilding athlete that you would think had been competing all his life. So just think about the inspiration of this man. If he can do that, I can lose maybe 10 pounds, whatever. Okay, now this is kind of an interesting question, but I have to ask. When I lose weight, when I've gained too much, there's some flab there. How do you get rid of 100 pounds?
Yeah, so you do have losing skin, right? I did have this problem, and it took me a really long time to overcome that because you have to basically build muscle to fulfill that space. And the skin is something that if it is a lot of losing skin, you're going to have to do surgery. There is no way because it's skin. You have to get rid of that skin. I didn't have that problem. I have a lot of losing skin, right? So it started to tighten up over the years. On the first show, I was a little bit even ashamed because the losing skin was there. The next year was getting better and getting better, right? So it was a very progressive approach. And many people say, don't you want to do a surgery? I said, well, I don't feel like. I feel like this is part of me because the worst part was to lose weight. Go to the surgery right now just for this little detail. I'm not really so sure is a good idea. So I just kept pushing and getting better year over year. You got to be patient. Results takes time. That's why I said consistency is important because if you want to have great results, you're going to have to work over time and for a longer period of time to see those results.
You bet. Well, this determination goes back to another question I'd like to ask, and that's coming to the United States. You came here, different country, different language. Did you speak good English before? You didn't?
No, I had enough English to work on my technical field because when you were using technical words and everything. But I remember the first time that I went to have a breakfast and the waitress asked me, how do I want your eggs? I was like, wow, I don't even know how to answer this question. Right? She gave me so many options and I was like, I just want eggs. So I pointed to the menu. I said, I want like this.
Gosh. And here you are now. Tell us about what you're doing at Microsoft with cybersecurity. That itself is just fascinating. I want to show audience, those of you who are watching, and I'll tell you what it is, those of you who are listening. This is a big, thick book, and it's one of many, many books he's written about cybersecurity. These are all on Amazon, by the way. Cybersecurity Attack and Defense Strategies. I just got them, so they're not tabbed usually. My books are tabbed. And then this one I will read right away, and but I know what's in it. And it's Ready, Set, Achieve. A guide to taking charge of your life, creating balance, and achieving your goals. In cybersecurity, what is it you can share with us about what you do now, traveling all over the world, your teams are everywhere, and how your discipline has affected now the work life?
I have a team of program managers that they work with cloud security. So as you know, we major companies are moving to the cloud. Cloud security is a very important subject because at the same time that clouds enables business to do things faster and even more secure. We already break those mindset that on premises and data centers were more secure than the cloud. Cloud has a lot of advantages for companies, but we have to have a good secure posture on the workloads that we have in the cloud. So my team works on technologies that enable customers to have a more secure cloud workload. The work that I do is I work with the product team to ensure that the demands from our customers, they are reached by the engineers, by the developers, that we are creating products that are fulfilling those requirements, and that we are ensuring that their workloads are secure. So that's an overview about the work.
Is the cloud secure? Is my work secure in the cloud?
The cloud itself has a lot of capabilities to keep your workload secure. Now, there is a lot of education perspective because most of the attacks that they take place, they are still taking advantage of lack of secure posture management. For example, there is a patch that was not updated on your system. You know, every month you have to update your system with new patches for the system. Sometimes the administrator or whoever is managing that cloud workload, they do not update those patches. A threat actor goes and exploits that vulnerability. That's one aspect.
And to think people are sitting somewhere in the world figuring out how to do all this awful stuff. That just sort of is interesting to me. They've got to have great minds, and yet they're using it for ill means.
Well, it is a business to them. There is an entire cybercriminal business behind that to take advantage of not secure resources. So it's a business.
Well, I don't want to hear that. All right. You are a fun-loving guy, I think. What makes you laugh?
What makes me laugh? Primarily, I think my daughters. They always have something that makes me laugh. I'm always learning with them.
Like, give us an example.
Well, my daughter, my youngest, for example, she plays drums. She practices jiu-jitsu with me. So we practice together. We go to the gym together. And she always has something funny to say when we are wrestling. She says, "I'm not gonna beat you, the old man." It's super fun. And drums is another passion of hers, and she been playing since she was 5 years old. And
do you play drums?
I play drums too, and I taught her in the beginning, but then I put her in the school to proper learning, reading tabs and everything. And nowadays she plays way better than me.
Oh, my goodness.
It's funny because now she is the one pointing out my mistakes. So it's turning around completely.
And there's your wife with two drummers in the house. I can't even imagine. My husband was a super good musician with a saxophone. He had a rock and roll band that was touring and made records and everything. Amazing. He wanted to play drums, and his mother said, "No, Doug, I don't think so." What's something?
And my oldest, she sings.
Oh, and she sings too.
My oldest.
Oh, the oldest sings.
Yes, the oldest sings and play guitar. So,
where did all that talent come from?
I've been listening to music since I was very young, and I guess it was an influence. They growing up listening to music, and they have a much better talent than me when it comes to music, for sure.
They were exposed to it. That makes a difference. What's something no one knows about you?
Oh, that's really hard because everything is very well documented.
Any thing that maybe people don't realize really bugs you, frustrates you?
Well, I truly believe that, and this is one of the lessons learned, that your current conditions does not dictate the future. When I moved to US, I had a lot of reasons to get frustrated and to just, let it go and go back to Brazil. English was one. It was a big challenge, but I was like, I'm in this country. I need to learn the culture. I'm gonna learn English, and I'm going to succeed. So I think that what bothers me is when I see talent people that give up just because some roadblocks, because they're not able to overcome those roadblocks. And they start to victimize and think that the system is working against them rather than taking that problem as an opportunity to grow and overcome that and be better, right? So I think that that's one thing that bothers me when I see wasted talent because of a wrong mindset.
It goes right back to our thoughts.
Yes, exactly.
Was your family a very positive thinking family?
Not really, because my father was divorced from my mom when I was 4. So I grew up just with my mom and my grandmother, and I didn't really have a father figure. My mother was a hard worker. She's still alive, and she retired and everything, but she was a hard worker. So I think as far as working hard, I had a lot to do with the way that I saw that she was pursuing.
Working hard.
Yeah.
So working hard, you told me just this morning that you get up at 4. What's your daily routine?
Yeah, right now, the daily routine changed a little bit yesterday because I started my PhD in cybersecurity leadership. So yesterday, the class started. And when I look the amount of things that I have to write and research, I'm like, I need more time. So let me wake up a little bit early. I used to wake up at 5. That now I was like, okay, I need one more hour. So I'm waking up at 4. I'm studying between 4 and 5:30. Then I go to the gym. Then I come back, have my breakfast, and then I start my work at Microsoft. So, and then I work at the whole day at Microsoft. And usually at night, I either go to my jiu-jitsu class or my judo class. So I train twice a day.
Okay. Now add to that, I know you teach.
Yeah, so I teach on the bachelor's degree in cybersecurity for EC Constant University. And it's an online class because the university is in New Mexico, but it's fully online. So that gives me the flexibility as well to every day, 30 minutes later at night to follow up on the students' assignments, participate in discussion threads, and give some guidance to the students and everything. So that's another thing. And on the weekend, I focus on writing my books because currently I'm writing 2 more books.
How many do you have now?
By the end of the year, it'll be 30.
30.
Yes.
My little 8 sound like nothing. How do you do that?
You have to really have a good time management. And I believe that you need to be present when you're doing something. I think that one of the worst things that we have today in society is multitasking. Because when you multitask, you don't accomplish anything most of the time. And you don't do it with quality. So when I'm here, I'm actually here. Right
I'm
here, not trying
present,
to do multiple
right
things. Exactly.
And that's interesting. I've talked on the show many times, Yuri, about the fact that people think multitasking, and I've heard people say, I'm really good at multitasking. Well, then how good are you at every part of that multitasking? That's not how our brain works. I will go back to exactly what you shared, saying it a little differently. Enjoy the journey rather than focusing on the destination. That's true in everything, isn't it?
Yes. You really become something else if you enjoy every little piece. And I learned a lot about that by competing in martial arts. So when I compete in jiu-jitsu or in judo, I may not win, but I have to take out something of that loss. I have to learn something. Or even bodybuilding, for example. When I got the last place, a lot of people were like, oh, I feel so sorry. I said, no, I'm not sorry. I'm happy, right? I
competed.
And I became something else. So think about the journey from obese to on stage. That's a whole years of experience that I gained. I had a different shape. I changed my life. So it's not that 5 minutes on stage that will dictate my happiness. It's the journey.
Right.
So sometimes people focus a lot on the end product, not realizing that what they become is what really is going to make a difference in the long term.
That's so wise. That's just so wise. Another wise thing you said, Yuri, was be ready to fail and learn from it.
Yeah. A lot of people, they are afraid to fail. And by being afraid to fail, they don't even try.
Yes.
And that's a big problem. I was in Israel last week, and I was there is a huge gym at Microsoft campus, beautiful gym, and I was training some friends, and some of the friends, they were exercising. I was pushing them a little bit more, and I remember one of these friends, he was shaking his head like this every time that he was doing a rep, and I said, "Look, you are defeating yourself even before you try. This is gonna affect your mind, and you're not gonna be able to do the exercise because you are literally saying, I cannot do that." So if you go to any type of situation, exercising or a new project that you're doing at work, and you start that project saying, I cannot do that, you're probably gonna fail. But many times people use this as a self-protection. And what I say by that is they immediately build an excuse for why they're failing. Oh, I was not prepared for that. This was too much for me. So when you go to open heart and say, I'm going to try, and if I fail, I'm going to learn with it, then you are opening up yourself to a different horizon of experiences, including failing and being criticized. But as long as you take this criticism and you self-improve, then you are going to go through this process that I call continuous improvement. Because we are on this process of continuous improvement every day. We are not perfect, right? We need to improve. And to improve, we have to fail. If you don't fail, you're not trying. If not trying, you're not accomplishing.
And the good news is that most of the leaders now that I work with in whether it's workshops or coaching, they are allowing their staff, their teams to fail. This is a different leader today. The leaders today have learned that tell, and push aren't going to work. Not anymore. And so this whole new sort of, I'm calling it up level or level up leadership, is about them, the leaders themselves, realizing, look, who do you want to follow? Well, you be that person you'd want to follow, and you'll probably do pretty well. And so being able to say to someone, hey, okay, so you blew it. Don't want it to happen again. Let's talk about how it happened and put boundaries in place. But listen, we all have these issues. So just move on. It's past. We're going to move on.
And most importantly, what did you learn from that experience? And what you do differently next time to prevent that to happen?
Yeah. The day we don't make mistakes, let me know, because I'll be under the grave. This is, I can't wait to read this one for sure, Greg. Ready, Set, Achieve. And it is on Amazon as all his books. All you have to do is what I did. Go on Amazon and Google Yuri Diogenes, and you'll have so many books you won't know which one to pick. But pick this one for now, because I think this one is going to be very much something all of us can learn from, I should say, because you're telling us how to make changes, and that's what we need. You have given us so many things. Would you be willing to allow people to contact you if they have questions or would like a little shoot in the arm of motivation?
Yeah, absolutely.
And where would that be? We'll put it in the banner right now.
Yeah, so they can find me on Twitter at Yuri Diogenes, or on LinkedIn, Yuri Diogenes as well.
And you'll be amazed as I was. Yuri, thank you. This has been such fun. Did you have fun?
Absolutely. It was great. Great talk. Thank you very much.
Oh, and I have to say something. I just shook hands with him, and sometimes someone of his strength will go, and you have a nice, firm, but not too hard handshake. Thank you for that, Yuri. All right. I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you, Valerie. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I want to give you a Valerieism for today. Let me tell you what it is. I chose this one to talk about. Put one foot in front of the other and take one step at a time. That's kind of what we talked about, isn't it? Here's a lesson I learned many years ago when I was writing probably the hardest book of the 8 that I've written. And of course, publishers have deadlines. So the deadline was looming, right? And I was just struggling, and I was struggling, and I was struggling. And then it hit me. Valerie, if you have a goal from here to here, meaning start the book, end the book, there are all these little steps along the way. But Valerie, you're not taking time to enjoy the journey. You're not taking time to celebrate, oh, I just finished a paragraph. Oh, I just finished a page. Oh my goodness, I just finished a chapter. And the difference was this. I took one step at a time, just what I said, and I moved forward step by step, but I learned to celebrate along the way. Chocolate chip cookie, cup of coffee, whatever it is. That's one way to reach your goals. It's a lot more fun. And that's it for today. Listen, I do have some books that are on Amazon too, and I want you to know what they are. Monday Morning Leadership for Women. You will enjoy that because it is a conversation written from two women, a mentor and a mentee. And it was such fun. First, I was the voice of the mentor, and then I was the voice of the mentee. I got to talk to two heads. It was really a lot of fun. And then the book from which my show came, Do It Right, from which now is the podcast, Doing It Right. So take a look, and please, if you've enjoyed this segment, it means a great deal if you will subscribe so you don't miss any other fabulous guests. Hit that red button right now and share this episode. See you later.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically.